It's Tuesday, November 7. In the headlines, the ITA lays out fees for traffic offenders to renew driver's licenses. Bustamante Children's Hospital is 60 years old. In business news, Jamaica launches first ever Jamaican dollar-linked instrument in international capital markets. Regionally, Guyana urges Venezuelans to reject harmful referendum. Internationally, Donald Trump attacks a judge during combative testimony in a civil fraud trial. And in sports, updates on the CG United Super 50. This is the news on PBC Jamaica. I'm Simone Absalom Gale. The Island Traffic Authority, ITA, has announced that traffic offenders who have had their driver's license suspended will have to pay a processing fee of $3,000 to Tax Administration of Jamaica and the receipt taken to the ITA head office, where a letter will be generated and sent to TAJ. The license holder will then be required to pay a substitute driver's license fee of $4,140, which will facilitate the addition of endorsements to the driver's license. In the case of a suspended driver's license that is expired or near the expiration date, the license holder will be required to pay the processing fee of $3,000 and a driver's license renewal fee. Did you know that the Bustamante Hospital for Children has its origin at the Kingston Public Hospital? The hospital, which is the largest of its kind in the region, is celebrating 60 years of existence. Its Diamond Jubilee. Senior Medical Officer at the hospital, Dr. Micheline Richards Dawson, tells us more.
In the time past, we were actually just 2 wards at the Kingston Public Hospital. Then in 1962, upon Jamaica gaining independence from Britain, their British military hospital, which was a part of the Upart camp, became vacant because the British were then leaving the island, handed over to the Jamaican government for their own rule. And at that time, the military hospital based at Upart camp became vacant, and there was actually, it is said, history says that there was a toss-up for who would get this now vacant hospital. There was a great lobbying on the behalf of our then senior pediatrician who was located at the Kingston Public Hospital, Dr. Lila Winter Wedderburn.
The hospital was officially opened by the Honorable Gladys Maud Bustamante on November 6, 1963.
So the first day they carried some babies, is the medical and then the surgical babies. And at that time we were 200 beds. And most of the services were towards the medical, surgical, ENT, and with time other services were added. It's important to note, though, that over the years, you will see the infrastructure that has been added. So the initial infrastructure there is a Georgian structure, which is the old military hospital, but over the time, we added more buildings as the capacity of the hospital was clearly expanded.
Dr. Dawson says in recognizing the hospital's 60 years of existence, her team is working on increasing capacity in infrastructure and services.
We actually have persons who are continued in further training overseas and locally as well. So we will have in our first pediatric dermatologist who is actually being pediatric dermatologist who is being trained now. We have our own pediatric neurologist who is being trained. But as these development takes place, we also have to have the infrastructure and the equipment in order to provide the service that we need.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness has condemned the killing of 2 primary school students in Salt Springs, St. James on Monday evening. In a statement released on Tuesday, Mr. Holness said, quote, "Violence in all its forms is abhorrent and must be strongly condemned and punished." However, when violence touches our innocent children who have their entire lives ahead of them and robs our country of their potential, all of society must stand up and say, enough is enough. End quote. He says the act shows once again that criminals are a clear and present threat to the foundations of our free and democratic society. He adds that his administration will continue to invest heavily in increasing the capacity and capabilities of the Jamaican security forces to intercept and interdict criminal terrorists. The Prime Minister, in his statement, says he has no doubt that the perpetrator of this act will be caught in short order by the police. Meanwhile, he's calling for tougher measures to create greater deterrence against the commission of these acts of terror. He notes the passage of the new Bail Act and the new Firearms Act, which increased the penalty for the possession and use of illegal firearms, and the proposed legislation now before Parliament for an amendment to increase the scheme of penalty for murder. Reports are that shortly after 7 p.m. on Monday, the students, along with a man who is believed to be the intended target, were gunned down. In this week's Living Healthy, Jamaica's Chief Dental Officer, Dr. Irving McKenzie, speaks about oral health.
The World Health Organization's 2022 Global Oral Health Status Report revealed that approximately 50% of the world's population, totaling 3.5 billion people, grapple with oral diseases. In Jamaica, we confront issues such as excessive sugar consumptions, inadequate hygiene practices, tobacco and alcohol use, all contributing to oral health problems. These oral diseases are largely preventable and exert a significant economic toll on low and middle income nations. Let me outline some of the main challenges. Dental caries, tooth decay. Plaque on teeth transform sugars into acid, leading to decay over time. Periodontal gum disease. Common symptoms include bleeding, swollen gums, and tooth loss. Edentulism, total tooth loss, frequently results from advanced decay or severe periodontal disease. Oral cancer encompasses mouth and oral pharyngeal cancers, primarily linked to tobacco, alcohol, and HPV infections. Oral and dental traumas affect approximately 1 billion people, mainly children, resulting from injuries to the teeth, mouth, and oral cavity. Cleft lip and palate, common craniofacial birth defects, often treatable with surgery. Additionally, harmful oral bacteria can trigger chronic health conditions like diabetes, cardiovascular disease, adverse pregnancy outcomes, Alzheimer's disease, lung conditions, and inflammatory bowel disease. Prevention is paramount. We must advocate for balanced diets, low in sugars, halt tobacco use, reduce alcohol intake, and promote protective measures during sports and travel. Exposure to fluoride and regular brushing with fluoride toothpaste are crucial. In 2021, the World Health Assembly endorsed a resolution on oral health, highlighting its integration into non-communicable disease agendas and universal health coverage programs. In Jamaica, starting in October, we are promoting No Sugar Days every Tuesday, Wednesdays in November, and Thursdays in December, with the hashtag It's a No for Me. We're engaging with schools, communities, and workplaces and healthcare providers to raise awareness and take action. Join us in this crucial mission, Jamaica. Be proud of your mouth for a lifetime of smiles.
In the business report, Jamaica launches Jamaican dollar-linked international bond. Danita Rodney has more.
The government of Jamaica has floated the country's first Jamaican dollar-linked international bond in the amount of $46.6 billion, which is equivalent to $300 million. In a release on Monday, the Finance Ministry said the bond issuance is part of the second phase of a liability management operation. The bond represents the first Jamaican dollar-linked transaction for the government of Jamaica in international capital markets. Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clark says the successful floating of this instrument provides new opportunities for the country and will make Jamaica more robust. Now for your market updates. In foreign exchange trading for Monday, November 6, the US dollar sold for an average of $157.42. The Canadian dollar ended trading at $115.79. The pound sterling traded for $193.65, and the euro sold for $169. In JSE trading, the JSE index declined by over 2,171 points. The junior market index declined by over 33 points. The combined market index declined by over 2,329 points. And the All Jamaican Composite Index declined by over 2,074 points. Overall market activity resulted from trading in 105 stocks, of which 36 advanced, 54 declined, and 15 traded firm. Stocks advanced for AMG Packaging and Paper Company Limited, Virgin Paints Jamaica Limited, and Carreras Limited. Stocks declined for 138 Student Living Jamaica Limited, Access Financial Services Limited, and Barita Investments Limited. Trading firm were CAC 2000 Limited, Derrimon Trading Company Limited, and Epic Caribbean Property Fund Limited SCC. The overall volume leaders were Trans-Jamaican Highway Limited with over 1 million units, Sagicor Select Funds Limited Financial with over 800,000 units, and One Great Studio Company Limited with over 700,000 units. In regional stocks in Trinidad and Tobago, the mutual fund market did not record any activity. On the Barbados Stock Exchange, Goddard Enterprises Limited was the volume leader with 5,000 shares. They were followed by First Caribbean International Bank with over 1,000 shares, and Emira Deposit Receipt, which traded 6 shares. In regional business in Trinidad and Tobago, the United National Congress wants government to tell the country how the suspension of the TT dollar by the Bank of Jamaica is going to affect trade and local businesses overall.
The government owes the business community, and by extension the public, an explanation regarding the repercussions of the suspension of the TT dollar by the Bank of Jamaica. This from Couva South MP Rudy Indar Singh, who spoke at a press conference earlier today.
Are businesses in Jamaica planning to reduce or have already reduced their volume of trade with Trinidad and Tobago? What does this mean for local manufacturers who ship to Jamaica?
Guardian Media also reached out to Trade Minister Paula Gopi-Schoon for a comment. However, the minister indicated that she was currently in China. Meanwhile, the Confederation of Regional Business Chambers is expressing concern about the move from the Bank of Jamaica. It also agreed that there should be intervention from the TT government.
The Confederation of Regional Business Chambers is also making a call for the governments of Trinidad and Tobago to hold a bilateral meeting as urgent as possible with the government of Jamaica with the aim of finding a methodology and a pathway to resolve this problem.
Guardian Media also reached out to Kiran Maharaj, president of the TNT Chamber of Industry and Commerce. She says the chamber does not have sufficient information to say whether this suspension can have negative implications.
We have to respect the decision of the BOJ as the banker and financial agent of the government of Jamaica. We are certain, however, that our government will reach out to their counterparts in Jamaica for clarification, and we await feedback and further information from both the BOJ and our own government.
Last Friday, the Bank of Jamaica issued a notice announcing the temporary suspension in the exchange of the TT dollar at its banking counter. Geisha Kaules Alonso, CNC3 News.
In international business, U.S. stocks ended slightly higher as investors awaited guidance from a host of Federal Reserve policymakers later in the week on the central bank's policy path, with a large amount of bond supply also due to hit the market.
On Monday, the Dow added 0.1%, the S&P 500 climbed nearly 0.2%, and the Nasdaq 0.3%. The Fed is expected to hold interest rates steady for the next 6 months, according to the CME FedWatch tool. FM Acceleration Senior Portfolio Manager Francisco Bideau doesn't see them changing anytime soon either.
I think they're pretty much set where they are right now. They took a pause until the last meeting, and I believe that they're going to continue to pause for a while longer. That's not to say that if inflation does uptick in a serious way, they won't take any action. I think they are credible. And, they have to be credible because they need to manage future expectations on inflation and so on.
Fed Chair Jerome Powell speaks Wednesday with remarks from the Fed presidents of New York and Dallas on tap this week, too. Stocks making moves included Dish Network, which lost nearly 40% of its value and fell to a 25-year low after the pay TV provider missed third-quarter revenue estimates and said the CEO will step down from the role. And Bumble, which fell 4%, as the dating app operator said its founder and CEO Whitney Wolfe Herd will step down as chief executive.
In market data for oil prices hit fresh lows on Tuesday as mixed economic data from China offset the impact of Saudi Arabia and Russia extended output cuts. Brent crude futures were down $1.45 to $83.73, while West Texas Intermediate crude was at $79.58 a barrel, down $1.24. And that was the business report on PBCJ. I'm Danita Rodney.
Thanks, Danita. In regional news, in Guyana, Minister of Parliamentary Affairs and Governance, Gail Texera, called on Venezuelans to reject their country's planned December 3, 2023 referendum, stating that this process will only bring greater harm. More from Newsroom Guyana.
Guyana's lawmakers agreed that Venezuela's planned referendum for December 3, which is just next month, should be stopped. And on Monday, as the extraordinary sitting of the National Assembly continued, the Minister of Parliamentary Affairs and Governance, who is also the government's chief whip, Gail Texera, also called on Venezuelans to reject the referendum planned by their government. She was supported by opposition parliamentarian Roysdale Ford, who said Guyana firmly rejects this referendum.
We mustn't put everybody into one pot. There are people out there who have no such interest of annexation, of pumping up one's chest and showing maps of the Zone de Reclamation, which offends us as Guyanese. It's an illegal map, and that one that should be shown nowhere at all. But we recognize the two questions that are most contemptuous. We recognize the total disregard for international law, that this is a brazen act of December 3rd to deny us our right to live within our agreed borders and to freely develop our resources of our entire nation. And as Minister Pauline pointed out, this by all definitions is active aggression. For the CARICOM and the countries in this hemisphere, this is a zone of peace and has been a zone of peace for decades. For many of the Latin American countries, it is not just Guyana that has a border issue with Venezuela. Venezuela has border issues with other countries, Colombia. There's probably not one nation in the South American continent that doesn't have a border issue with another country. So any act of aggression will make the entire South America very nervous and squeamish about what is taking on. And therefore, we know that we are not alone as a people.
Venezuela has made her intention clear to seek relentlessly to impose the yoke of colonialism on a young and small nation that has only recently succeeded in freeing itself from the tutelage of another imperial power. He continued, "We have no quarrel with the Venezuelan people, but we shall not lack courage or resolve in resisting aggressive demands of a Venezuelan government that is prepared to defile the traditions of Bolivar and to flout the precepts of hemispheric and world order and security.
In more news from Guyana, lawmakers from both sides of the House gathered for an extraordinary sitting of the National Assembly on Monday, and Guyana's Attorney General Anil Nandal SC posited that Venezuela's planned referendum can compromise the proceedings of the International Court of Justice.
Attorney General and Minister of Legal Affairs Anil Nandlal and Prime Minister Brigadier Retired Mark Phillips were among those who contributed at the extraordinary sitting of the National Assembly on Monday, where lawmakers all denounced Venezuela's planned referendum and reaffirmed that Guyana should settle the border controversy, or the border controversy should be settled at the International Court of Justice. Mr. Nandlal, however, pointed out that Venezuela's planned referendum, which is set for next month, could compromise the court's ruling.
Every court has a duty to protect the integrity of its process and proceedings before it. In short, it has an inherent and unmitigating duty to prevent its process from abuse. Guyana is of the considered view that the impending referendum slated for the 3rd of December 2023 is intended to and will compromise the legal proceedings pending at the International Court of Justice, if not subvert the legal process altogether and prejudice its outcome.
We maintain our trust in the rule of law and have confidence that the ICJ will uphold the principles of justice and respect for sovereignty. Mr. Speaker, our government's stance on this issue is unequivocal. As articulated in an official statement from our administration, Venezuela's actions represent a blatant violation of the fundamental principles outlined in the UN Charter, the OAS Charter, and general international law.
Tourism officials are now in London for a world travel market, seeking to add to the brand appeal of the destination. WTM London is described as the ultimate destination for travel and tourism. Ursula Charles Jr. reports.
Antigua-Barbuda has fielded an impressive promotional team to ensure participation in World Travel Market London is a success this year. Chief Executive Officer of the Antigua-Barbuda Tourism Authority, Colin James, says the team is already hard at work.
The World Travel Market is really buzzing this year. As a huge comeback from where we were coming out of the pandemic. Everybody is here, and it's a great opportunity to not just network, but to cement the business opportunities for tourism for the destination as well.
Several hotel partners and mother-daughter astronaut duo of Keisha Shahaf and Anastasia Mears are also participating on behalf of Team Antigua-Barbuda. The three-day activity brings together the international leisure travel community, and James says the target is clear.
We're trying our endeavor best to ensure that we can increase our summer lift coming into the destination for next year. And I dare say we will be having a flight coming back from Central Europe as well this next year, which we are looking to put the finishing touches on the deal and have that all secured away by December, so that very shortly afterwards we can start marketing Antigua and Barbuda in Europe, on the mainland, on the continent, and really be pushing the destination to our trade partners in Germany, and really just ensuring that we can rebuild the numbers that we had pre the pandemic and put things back on track for that part of our source market.
Amid the negotiations and the signings, James says the best of the island's cultural assets will also be on display.
Tomorrow at 2 p.m. in the afternoon, Antiguan time, which will be about maybe 6 hour time here, we are going to be having a Caribbean party on the stand, sharing some of our Antiguan goodies, where we've invited our travel partners. And, Keisha and Anastasia will be stars of the show this year.
WTM London is now in its 42nd year, having been first held in 1980, but missed the year due to the COVID-19 pandemic. For ABS News, I'm Ursula Charles Jr.
In international news, during his time on the stand, the former U.S. President Donald Trump lashed out at the judge as he testified in his civil fraud trial. The former president is accused of lying about the value of his assets. Al Jazeera's Patty Culhane reports.
Outside a New York courthouse, protesters greeted the former president with signs warning that he is about to face some consequences. As Donald Trump arrived, the media watching from above and in the courtroom, a scowling Trump waiting to testify under oath. The New York Attorney General sued, saying the Trump organization inflated the value of its real estate to get better bank loans, arguing that earned the company $100 million and exaggerated Trump's wealth by $2 billion.
Before he takes the stand, I am certain that he will engage in name-calling and taunts and race baiting and call this a witch hunt.
A prediction that came true just moments later.
These are political operatives that I'm going to be dealing with right now. You have a racist attorney general who made some terrible statements.
Judge Arthur Engoron has already ruled that his company's financial documents were filled with fraud. The question now, what will it cost Trump, his family, and his company? While his adult sons, also his co-defendants, testified that their accountants were to blame, Trump acknowledged that he suggested some real estate values. Under questioning, Trump repeatedly fought with the judge, who will ultimately decide his punishment. The state wants him to pay $250 million in fines, and for Trump and his sons to be banned from doing business in New York, which could mean he would have to sell some of his most celebrated buildings. During a break, Trump motioned to be quiet, advice he may soon wish he took on the stand. Patty Culhane, Al Jazeera.
In sports, Trinidad and Tobago's Red Force surged to the top of the CG United Super 50, standing with a convincing win over the Barbados Pride on Sunday and are set for Wednesday's first semi-final.
Darren Bravo scored 139 not out for the Red Force in their 293-6 versus the Barbados Pride, a score which put them on course to victory.
I knew I had to play a particular role for my team today. In team meeting, we always speak about someone actually batting to the entire innings. Today was my day, so I'm happy about it. Wasn't trying to put myself under unnecessary pressure. But having said that, I knew as long as I survive, or as long as I'm there throughout the innings, it's going to get easier. I'm going to start playing my game and stuff like that. So all in all, I think it was a tremendous innings, but most importantly, I was happy that I was able to contribute to the team.
The Red Force played unbeaten in the group stage, and the captain credited an all-round team effort for the success.
I think we play as a team, most importantly, and each and every single time we go to a team meeting, we identify where we went wrong in the previous game and stuff like that. There's a situation where we actually look at the player in the space and tell him exactly what is required or what he has done well or stuff like that. We are honest with each other, and most importantly, we are really and truly happy for each other, each member's success. I think that would have helped us along the way, and as I said before, in the toss, there's added incentive if it comes to it. So yeah, the guy's probably happy right now.
After Bravo's heroics came Sunil Narayan, who helped restrict Barbados with the ball to 215 all out, taking 4 for 13 to help seal the win. The captain gave his thoughts on Narayan's recent retirement from the international game.
In the team meeting today, we actually said that we're definitely going to go out there and try to win this one from Sunil Narayan. He has done tremendously well. He make a name for himself. And as young players in the setup, we all look up to him. So all in all, I'm really happy for him. He's a special player, and yes, he's going to be missed.
The Red Force will meet the Guyana Harpy Eagles in the first Super 50 semi-final on Wednesday at the Brian Lara Cricket Academy from 1 p.m. Wayne Cunningham, TTT Sport.
And that's it for the news on PBC Jamaica. You can follow us on our social media platforms at PBC Jamaica. Thank you so much for watching.